basically, how we maintain the, yes, go ahead.
Ma'am, like certain practices which we should follow, like we shouldn't like throw any big things or like any trash in the drains or anything like that.
Correct, correct. So basically, it's something like, if there is a dry waste, you'll have to throw it in the dry waste garbage bin. If there's a wet waste, that also needs to be segregated, right? Whether it's an organic wet waste or an inorganic wet waste. What is the difference between an organic and an inorganic wet waste?
Ma'am, organic means anything related to the kitchen waste like peels or any rotten food or anything. And
Correct.
inorganic is something like plastic bottles or something.
Correct. So, for example, first and foremost, you segregate your waste into dry and wet waste, right? Dry waste and wet waste. Now, even within dry waste, there is something called an e-waste. What are e-wastes?
Ma'am, electronic waste.
Correct. Electronic waste, it could be your keyboard, it could be your mouse pad which is not working, it could be your hands-free headphone, certain parts of your computer, the old radio, the transistor that you had. These could all lead to e-wastes. The iron, that you use for pressing your clothes, that isn't working, right? So these are all dry wastes. Now, there could be something which are organic dry waste. Examples? Unmana? Yeah, Priscilla, go ahead.
Ma'am, like any fertilizers or something like that.
Oh, why would I use a fertilizer at home and then throw it away?
Ma'am, if you grow plants, you'll use it, no, ma'am.
So it could be peels. If there is fertilizer, I might as well use it for the plants. Why would I throw the fertilizer? I'm talking about wastes. Right? So fertilizer is something that is useful. I'll not throw it. That could be paper. These are all organic. What is the meaning of organic? Organic means which can be decomposed, which if thrown in the environment will not trouble the soil, will not trouble the water body. It can be decomposed. So paper, maybe you did an origami work, there was a lot of paper and you threw the paper, shredded paper, which comes out from the paper shredder, right? Okay. So, more or less, and there's something called an inorganic dry waste. So what would be inorganic dry waste? Basically plastic, which will not decompose. It could also be certain nylon products, right? It could be, normally, nowadays the clothes wear, the t-shirt material, right? The ones that you wear for sports, right? It's very elastic, and you would see the leggings and the t-shirts, of the sports clothes material. They are just not cotton. So they have a certain amount of nylon in it. And what is nylon? Nylon is synthetic. So if nylon is synthetic, do you think that it would decompose in the soil? Do you think it's organic? No, it does not
No, ma'am.
decompose, right? So, whenever you choose your clothes, please be, aware and alert of what are the kind of clothes that you're choosing. Things, the pouch, the little pouches, pencil pouches and the pen pouches that you carry, right? They're very decorative. They have a lot of sequins in it. What are sequins? Sequins are basically made out of plastic, right? Looks very nice, looks very good, but also we have to be, aware of the environment. We'll just use the pouch for maybe 6 months and then dispose it away. So where does it go? It goes to the landfill, right? It goes to the landfill. I hope all of you remember what is a landfill.
Ma'am, like waste after the garbage trucks, they go to one common place. So there they dig up the land and they throw all the garbage there and cover it.
Correct. So basically, normally in the outskirts of every city, every country, every place in this world, they have an area which normally is a very, normally not so fertilized, not so fertile land, which, the land is not normally used, which doesn't come of either any agricultural or any industrial purpose. So that place, the entire waste of the city is being disposed, and that's the landfill. And after years there would be mounds of landfill of the city, obviously on a daily basis. Kgs and kgs of tons of dry waste, wet waste, dry waste are being disposed there, right? So we were discussing about dry and wet. So now coming to wet, even in wet there could be inorganic wet waste and there could be organic wet waste, right? There was a bottle of Baygon spray. There was a pest control or pesticide that you had at home, right? And you disposed the bottle just like that, or maybe spilled certain amount of Baygon spray into the washroom area. So there, in the wet water drainage along with the normal water, even the inorganic chemical flows into the wet, into the soil, right? And this is something which will never ever, decompose, because this is like harsh chemical. This could be a pure case of inorganic chemical. There could be so many other different kinds of chemicals, right? Also, in agricultural land, on a daily basis, if you remember, they spray chemicals, they spray pesticides, they spray weedicides on a daily basis. So where do you think, they spray it on the plants, but ultimately where does it go? When they water the plants, everything ultimately comes down to the soil, right? And do you think soil, and these are all oil based, most of them, 90% of them are oil based. So do you think a soil has the capacity to absorb oil?
No, ma'am.
They cannot. Rather, what would it do? If these are the soil particles, the oil particles would actually clog the soil particles. All the space that it gets, it will clog it. Right? And what will happen when you water it next time? There would be a lot of water logging, and there would be no, penetration of water downwards. There would be a lot of watering. There would be a lot of water logging. Correct? So basically, when you put, we also see, in our home drains, the pores are like quite big. In spite of that, if you throw spicy and oily food into the drain, it gets clogged in a while, in spite of the holes being so big. Why? Because oil doesn't mix up with water, and oil has the stickiness to it, so it sticks and clogs these pores into the drain, right? So oil is basically a danger, a dangerous thing. Even if oil, like, it could be a good oil like ghee or butter. They are, kind of good oil, not those chemical oils, but still they are harmful for the soil, if not hazardous. Bhavya, can you please read out the sanitation part? First of all, read the definition of sanitation. What does sanitation mean?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, should I read the whole slide?
No, not the whole slide, just the definition first.
Okay, ma'am. Sanitation refers to hygiene. Sanitation generally refers to the provision of facilities for the safe disposal of human urine and feces.
Right. So what does it mean? What does it say?
Ma'am, it says that sanitation, it means hygiene, and it always refers to the provision of the facilities for the safe disposal. For the safe excretion of urine and human urine and feces.
Correct. So basically they want to say the provision. What is the meaning of provision? Provision means facilities, right? What are the facilities? What are the solutions? What are the way outs, right? So that, the human urine, feces, even certain animal wastes as in, animal excretory products, so that they are also disposed. Disposed means thrown safely, right? Remember what we discussed the other day in villages? They have those dirty ponds. they have those dirty water bodies, and they try and bathe from there. They pick up water from there. They use it for cooking. They wash their clothes there, right? And even the sanitation, they don't have proper sanitation. They lack sanitation. That's the reason why, all the fecal matter also comes to the same water body, which is like really harmful, right? So sanitation means having proper washrooms, having proper bathrooms, toilets, proper drainage system, soak pits, septic tanks, having a proper system of...
Yes, ma'am. The main objective of human health is to protect and provide clean environment. Sanitation is a major problem in developing countries such as India and China. Due to explosion in population, government is unable to provide proper sanitation through underground drainage system.
Correct. So basically it says that, the main objective of human health is to protect and provide clean environment. When we are born as human beings, what is the first basic right of a human being? So the first and foremost thing which human beings expect or deserve is respect. Respect for self and for others, but first it is self-respect. Respect is something, which we immediately get irritated if somebody talks rudely to us, isn't it?
But that also happens in animals, right?
That also happens in animals, but for us it's like something very basic. Even a kid, if you slap the kid will start crying. That might not happen in case of animals. In an infant, just a few days old infant, if you scold, the infant will start crying. So for us, self-respect is very important. It comes the moment we are born.
Ma'am?
Right? So basically, along with food, shelter and clothing, food is necessity. The moment we are born, we need food. Animals do not need shelter. Animals do not need clothing. Right? So when we talk about shelter, it's not only about shelter as in a home where we can stay, a room where we can sleep, a room where we can sit, but it is also using a proper toilet. Correct? So this is where the government has put a stress on sanitation. Proper sanitation needs to be given to everyone right from birth. Because this is something which not only harms the self-respect, but it also harms the environment for that matter. So this is human health. It is extremely hazardous for other human beings if proper sanitation is not there. Right? Sanitation is a major problem in developing countries. India is a developing country. Plus added to that is the population. But sanitation has to be kept in mind. That's the reason why most of the deaths related to diarrhea, can you believe there are still people who die because of loose motions, which scientifically is known as diarrhea, right? Or dysentery. Can you believe it? This still happens. And why do loose motions happen? Because there is either some kind of a germ which has either got into your food or your water. That means they're exposed to dirty environmental conditions and they're not even aware that if they have loose motions, what to do. Whether to have that ORS water. What is ORS?
Ma'am, in some of the boxes they write solution and some of them they write it sachet.
Sachet, yes. But basically, you take the powder and mix it up and make a solution. So it is a few spoons of sugar and a few pinches of salt into 1 liter of water, and you can make this ORS and actually save lives.
Ma'am, you also get the juice packs.
You also get those Tetra packs. You also get those sachets. Correct. So, so due to the population explosion, the government wants to, but is unable to match up with the growth of the population. They're unable to provide sanitation and drainage system. By the time the government digs up the entire stretch of the road in front of your house and prepares a well-maintained drainage system, there are 10 more buildings which have come up in the neighborhood. Again, the government has to dig up and again make bypasses and lines and other sewers to connect to them. So it's also a huge cost. right? So giving proper sanitation and drainage, this comes free to us. The government is providing this to us, isn't it? So this is something which is very basic. Now, along with sanitation, if proper sanitation is not being done, there are hordes of diseases which we can get into, right? But we are still a little better off than what we were 50-60 years back, because at least in the cities now we have proper drainage system. We have, every house has a a washroom and a toilet. Public places like malls, railway stations, bus terminus, all of them have toilets. So we are a little better off. But if you go to small towns, villages, other district, a little in the outskirts, you will not find, it's very difficult to find a toilet, in public places. Even if you find one, it's in a very poor state. I'm sure all of you must have experienced when you go to, suburbs, in a little village area, touristy places. Correct?
Ma'am, never went to village, ma'am.
Okay, but you must go to village to at least have a look and feel of the, the greenery, and there are other various good sides to that also, right?
Ma'am, actually we don't have a native village.
Okay, no, just for travel's sake. Just for travel's sake. Okay. So water and soil are polluted by open defecation. What is defecation? Excreting in public, excreting outside. As in not using a toilet, but just going to the field, going to some, chopper, and under some tree or behind a bush, what, few people do in the villages. So what does it do? It spoils the quality of water and the quality of soil. And, they have forgotten to mention also the air. It's a foul odor for so many days in and around. And just imagine if, the entire village defecates, if on a daily basis, can you imagine what's happening to the water, soil and air there? Can you just imagine? It will be a hazard. Within a week, the entire village, no wonder, they will have all the diseases that you can think of.
Contaminated water and soil prove to be breeding grounds for microorganisms. Poor sanitation contaminates the groundwater, which further causes diseases like cholera, typhoid, polio, meningitis, hepatitis, and dysentery.
Meningitis.
Meningitis, hepatitis, and dysentery.
Dysentery, correct. So what is the meaning, Unmana, what is the meaning of contaminated?
Ma'am, impure water.
Impure, the water which got contaminated with feces, right? The water or the soil which has got contaminated with human waste, the water and the soil, right? Now once, what is human being excreting? It's all the waste, and along with the waste comes a lot of bacteria and lot of other germs. A few could be helpful, but most of them are harmful only. Correct. So what happens to the soil, for example, if this is the area, which is like a extremely, polluted area, because this is the place where, most of the villages come to excrete. So what will happen to the soil? It will be a breeding ground for all kinds of bacteria that one can imagine. And do you think the bacteria will restrict itself to this border of this place only? No. It will come out. It will come out from each and every corner, and quickly it will also go to the air, it will go to the soil deeper, it will go outside, it will slowly spread. And we know that bacteria and other germs need just a moist environment. It has enough food here, and it will grow thus at an extremely massive pace. This is an excellent breeding ground. That's the reason why we are always advised to keep everything dry and clean. Why? Because in dry areas, normally germs do not grow, especially if it is sun-dried.